not just for crops, but also to drink. I mean, that's such a huge issue. We're polluting our water streams, and we're not getting water. So I think that we have to understand it's not just the food, but it's also getting fresh, clean water. And climate has a big deal to do with that as well.
Thank you very much indeed. That is a crucial link, isn't it?
Absolutely. The problem is we can't do this one problem at a time. You've actually got to look at water, climate, energy. There's still 1.5 billion people who have no access to electricity, poverty, and food production. Unless you can actually take a global single look at this, it's not going to work. And the international system is not really set up to do that.
Why is that? Why is it not so?
Well, because people also specialise. So you have, the agencies which work on agriculture or on water or on energy, and it's trying to get them all to work together with a single common kind of analysis that is proving such a problem at the moment.
One of the crucial things is essentially to recognise that intensification of agriculture is the best environmental policy. A lot of people think it would be nice if we could go back to organic farming or something like that. But if we don't get yields up, then we can't spare the land for nature reserves, we can't spare the land for forests, etc., etc. So it's vital to understand that fertiliser, for example, is great, because if we hadn't been using artificial fertiliser, we'd have needed a huge amount more land. If we hadn't been using tractors, we'd need more land for the bullocks and horses that pull the ploughs, etc. So intensification of yields is actually a great thing, because it releases land, and we've seen that in Western Europe and North America. We see huge amounts of land going back to forest, etc. That could happen in Africa and Latin America too, if we can get yields up, and yet we can still feed the world from those lands.
I agree with Matt, but what is interesting is there are new technologies now which allow you, they're very simple, to use fertilizers, but in a very more precise way. For example, you can put the amount of fertilizer you want in the top of a Coca-Cola cap. A cap on the top of a Coca-Cola, and just put that in the hole before you plant the maize seed. That way you fertilize the plant, but you don't waste huge amounts of fertilizer, you don't cause huge pollution. That's what we've got to do. That's the intensification that Matt's talking about.
That's right, and there's a gene which has been transferred out of barley into rice, which has improved the rice plant's ability to get nitrogen out of the soil, and actually that means you can put less fertilizer on and get the same yields. Now that has now been licensed free to African farmers. The technology's been given away through charities in Africa. It's being tested at the moment, and the possibility there is that it could make fertilizer affordable for small farmers. So there are wonderful things potentially happening.
Thank you all very much indeed. Do join us next week, same time, same place. All the best for now, and may the solutions that we've been hearing about, potential solutions that we've been hearing about today, turn into very real ones. Thank you. Bye-bye for now.
Decoding the stories that shape our views.
Those images catapulted the story back into the headlines.
Everything that I thought would be easy was hard, and everything that I thought would be hard was easy.
From mainstream media to consumer-led advertising.
There are other options.
What's at the front line of global media?
This has been reported worldwide.
With a major media angle to it.
Comparing news and challenging views. The Listening Post, at this time on Al Jazeera.
As China undergoes profound changes, competition for jobs becomes a struggle to survive. Two graduates fresh out of college seek employment in a city of 8 million people. Now entering the real world, the graduates become increasingly desperate and begin to question their college-trained talents. It's a time of hope and frustration for the workforce of the future. Faces of China, at this time on Al Jazeera.
We are peaceful people. The Egyptian people will be the ones who will make the change.
We are mobilizing tomorrow a mass protest from Tahrir Square.
If we decided to give in now, they will hunt us one by one.
From local traders to international finance, it's commerce that makes the world go round. For global companies and developing markets, communication is the currency, and information is the most valuable commodity. Counting the cost at this time on Al Jazeera.
In a new series of one-hour documentaries, Al Jazeera English showcases films from across the Al Jazeera network.
They were fighters, assassins, insurgents, and icons. They took up arms to become an integral part of Lebanon's 15-year civil war. The war through the eyes of the women who fought on the front lines.
Al Jazeera World.
Home to a diversity of rare species, Latvia's pristine woodlands are a place of magic. But with a strained economy and an eager market, forests are rapidly perishing, and with them their inhabitants. People and Power investigates how 60% of Latvia's timber ends up on UK shelves with a questionable seal of approval. Latvia's pulp fiction, at this time on Al Jazeera.
The main stories here on Al Jazeera.
Of course, that these trials will actually
From the world to your phone. Al Jazeera Mobile.
This is Al Jazeera.
Hello and welcome to the News Hour live from Doha. I'm Laura Kyle from Al Jazeera News Centres here and in Washington, D.C. These are the main stories. Time to talk. Egypt's outlawed opposition party, the Muslim Brotherhood, says it's joining the dialogue with the government. Close to tipping point, Egypt's El Baradei warns the protests could turn vicious as the president clings to power. Power shift. Members of Mubarak's party quit, but it's not enough for the people on the streets. Plus...
And I'm Kimberly Helkin in Washington with a look at some of the other stories making headlines around the world, including Cambodian and Thai forces lay down their weapons for a second time in 2 days after a cross-border conflict turns deadly.
And guilty of fixing the game, the Pakistani cricket players who bowled to lose. Hello there, it's 0200 GMT, that's 4 a.m. in Egypt, and protesters are holding their ground in Cairo's Liberation Square as the impasse between pro-democracy supporters and President Hosni Mubarak enters its 13th day. These are some of the latest pictures we're getting from Tahrir, or Liberation Square, which has been the focal point of the movement to remove Mubarak from power. Opposition figure Mohammed El Baradei is warning that the unrest could turn increasingly vicious as the president continues to cling to power. Let's bring up speed with some of the latest developments. The leadership of the ruling National Democratic Party has resigned en masse, and they include Mubarak's son, Gamal. Frank Wisner, who went to Egypt last week as Obama's special envoy, has backed Mubarak's plan to stay in power until September. But the US State Department has quickly insisted he does not speak for the US government. And the banned opposition group, the Muslim Brotherhood, has confirmed to Al Jazeera that it is joining talks with Vice President Omar Suleiman. Well, let's get more now on that from one of our correspondents who's in Cairo. We're not naming them for their own safety. Give us an idea of the significance of the Muslim Brotherhood, a banned group, talking to the government.
Oh, well, Laura, yes, it's highly significant. We've had a look at the statement that's been put out by the head of the Muslim Brotherhood, Dr. Mohammed Badir, and he lists this in the statement what they are proposing, what they want to be discussed in these talks to begin later today. I'll just give you a list of some of them, the main ones here. They're interested in talking about the resignation of President Mubarak. They want Parliament dissolved. They want those who were responsible for the violence over the last few days put on trial. They talk about the respect for the media and wanting the right to be able to peacefully protest.